Hello and welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. I'm David McBee. Based on my book, Everyday Lessons Every Day, A Journey from Grumpy to Grateful, this podcast is for those of us who believe in personal growth and want to improve every day. This is episode 4, Men, Find Your Brothers. When I was a kid, I wasn't really into sports. I think I played Little League for a season, maybe even 2, but I was terrible. And I don't mean I wasn't very good. I mean, I was terrible. I have 3 memories of my baseball career. First, that I got hit by pitches often enough that I turned into that kid who stepped out of the batter's box every time. I was terrified of the ball. Being walked was pretty much the only way I ever got on base. Otherwise, I was that cliche, easy out. Second, I remember finally making contact with the ball during one of my last games, hitting it into the outfield, and it was an easy pop fly. But it was such a big deal that I didn't strike out or walk that my coach took pity on me and gave me the game ball. It was probably my happiest Little League memory, and that's kind of sad, I know. Finally, I remember playing second base. Now, there was this play where the ball was hit to the shortstop. I ran to second to turn the double play, and the next thing I knew, the coaches and umpires were picking me up from the ground. The shortstop had thrown me the ball, and it had connected with me square in the forehead and knocked me out. As the coaches helped me off of the field, I reached up to rub my head, and I could feel the imprints of the stitches from the ball. I guess I didn't have the quickest reflexes. All this to say, I wasn't a sports guy, so I never really experienced that team camaraderie. Instead, I spent my time in the Boy Scouts. I started Scouts in the 2nd grade and stayed active until I went to college, believe it or not. We met every Monday night, we camped nearly every month of the year, and we spent 2 weeks at summer camp. I created some of my greatest friendships in Scouts, and it was the place where I bonded with my father, who was a Scout when he was young and an active leader during my youth. Cut to my son's birth several years later, where my first thought was, we're going to hike together, we're going to camp together, and I get to rejoin my brothers in the scouting community, this time in a leadership position. And that's exactly what happened. In Cub Scouts, my wife was his den mother, and I ended up being the Cub Scout packmaster for just a bit. Then when he crossed over into Boy Scouts, I became an assistant scoutmaster. I was back! Every Monday night, 1 weekend a month, and 2 weeks in the summer, I was back with my tribe. Now, I want you to know that I'm not just using the word tribe playfully here. In the Scouting Council where I live, there is an honorary camping society known as the Tribe of Mickasay. Similar to the national organization Order of the Arrow, Mickasay's ceremonies, customs, and traditions are loosely based on the folklore of the American Indian. It's not hyperbole to say that this organization helped me to become the man I am today. Mickasay isn't about earning badges and tying knots. It's about searching your soul and making promises to yourself, promises that have impacted my character every day since I was called to be a brave of Mickasay when I was 14 years old. It was a true coming of age, including the hardships and ceremonies and celebrations that were based on the tribes of the American Indians that I respect so much. It meant everything to me to become a member of this group, and it meant even more to me on the day that my son was called. I often tell people with great pride that my son is an Eagle Scout and that he is 4th generation Mickasay. With that background, let's talk about today's everyday lesson, which comes from David H. Wagner's book, Backbone, The Modern Man's Ultimate Guide to Purpose, Passion, and Power. In the book, David talks a lot about how most men today don't have a lot of male friends. How in the past men would gather to talk in barbershops, or were on a bowling league, or worked in a male-dominated work environment where they could, quote, be men in an unapologetic way. He points out that as we get older, men have fewer and fewer male friends, and that it's especially rare for us to spend time together without women. He even admits that he prefers the company of women and that he's more comfortable with them and has great friendships with women. This is certainly true for me too. Now that my son is an adult and I'm no longer active in Scouts, there's really no environment where I can be a man with my brothers. And even when I was, there were moms taking on leadership roles and joining the tribe of Mikase. My wife is an honored woman of the tribe, and I am proud that she is part of it. Still, I crave that world of my youth where I could be a man in an unapologetic way. There's something to be said for men being with men. In his book, David says that people often ask him, "What is the one thing you recommend to men who want to find their backbone?" His answer? Get more good men in your life. I agree wholeheartedly. Men need men that they can talk to, count on, confide in. I consider my Scout friends my brothers for life. Even though we have mostly grown apart, if any of them called me for anything, I would drop what I was doing and help them. And I know they would do the same for me. Except for a small group of guys in college with whom I built a similar bond, I have never been able to replicate the relationships I had with my Scout brothers. I have male friends, of course, but there are always women around when we're together, and it's not the same kind of relationship. I don't think that I'm unique in this way either. When my son experienced the breakup of his first love, his Scout brothers were there for him. They listened to him cry, they picked him up, and they helped put him back together. They were able to help him in a way that only brothers can. There's a lot of talk in Backbone about the value of men's groups. David shares stories of how the men in his groups were helped and even provides instructions for starting a men's group and rules for how to host the meetings. It's a fantastic concept. Men, you need someone to talk to. And no matter how amazing your marriage is, you need someone to confide in when marital struggles is the topic. You might need someone to talk to about career and finances so that you don't burden your wife with your own fears and anxieties. I'm not suggesting you hide things from your spouse. I'm just trying to be honest, and I'm going to ask you to be honest too. You and I both know that you don't tell her every little thing, and I think that's okay. Nowhere in our vows does it say that we will share every intimate and personal secret with one another. What I'm suggesting is that you have male relationships so that you have someone to talk with about the hard topics. David says that in his men's groups, no topic is off the table. The men in his group are allowed to say anything to each other with no judgment and complete privacy. And it's because of this safe environment that men are able to work out their shit. His word, not mine. I mean, not that I don't utilize colorful words now and then, but... Now, before anyone decides that this episode is sexist, let me point out that this advice goes for women too. In her book, Girl Wash Your Face, Rachel Hollis advises her female listeners to find their tribe too. She tells a lot of stories of the value of sisterhood and the benefits of having close girlfriends in which to confide. This isn't a sexist message or a reason to segregate. I love and respect women and I adore my female friends. This is a reminder that having close friends of the same gender can take you places you can't go in a male-female environment. And so I challenge you, get out a Sharpie. Men, write the word brothers on your wrist. Women, write the word sisters. Find your tribe. Make the time to spend with them. Men, gather around a campfire or sit on the deck away from TV screens and phones. Create a safe place where you can talk about anything with no fear of judgment. Stop talking about cars and sports and talk about the things that truly matter. Relationships, career, dreams. Confide in your brothers and let them confide in you. Women, have a girls' night at your favorite restaurant or kick the men out of the house and sit on that same deck. Form those bonds of sisterhood that we men can't duplicate. Let me know what happens when you implement this lesson. I'll see you guys next time. Now go out there and do something awesome.